Good morning and welcome everyone to the digital meeting of Cabinet held via Microsoft Teams for Wednesday the 13th of April 2022. As you'll all be aware, the meeting will be recorded and made available to view via the Council's website. Thank you. I note we've got a number of apologies and I think some of these have already been recorded. Councillor Whitcomb and Mr Dave Street. If they can be recorded, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Do we have any?
We've also received apologies from Stephen Harris.
That's right. Thank you ever so much. Thanks, my dear.
You.
Thank you. Now moving on to declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in any respect of any item of business on the agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Does anyone have anything to declare? I see no hands, so thank you very much. Moving on to note the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. Has anyone got any comments on that? Any amendments or corrections in relation to the Cabinet Forward Work Programme? No, if I can have a show of hands then to accept those, please, to note. Thank you everyone very much. Moving on to the first item on the main agenda, and that's to receive and consider the following reports which are executive decisions are required. So the first one on the list is the withdrawal from Crumlin Institute. And if I can hand over to Councillor Whiting, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. On the 9th of June 2021, Cabinet supported a recommendation to progress withdrawal from the lease agreement relating to the Crumlin Institute building. This approval supported the necessary lease withdrawal deadline of the 25th of June 2021. To support this exit, funding of 195k was earmarked, as due to the terms of the lease, the authority would be liable to undertake dilapidation works or secure a cash settlement in lieu of the dilapidation work. A surveyor has been engaged to assess the value of the settlement to be agreed with the landlord to enable Caerphilly County Borough Council to exit the lease agreement and return the building to the landlord. Following assessment and negotiation between the parties, a sum of 300k is proposed. This is an additional cost of 105k to the initial estimate. So with all that in mind, I would like to move the recommendations in the report under 3.1 that Cabinet approves the settlement sum of 300k with the additional cost of 105k being funded from the Education and Lifelong Learning Revenue Budget projected underspend for 2021-2022. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Whitcomb. If I could hand over to Councillor Stenner, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. More than happy to second the recommendations in the report.
Okay, many thanks. Okay, is there any questions in relation to this? Does anyone have any more questions in terms of the final amount now for the settlement in relation to Crumlin? Okay, do any of the officers have anything further to add in terms of that final settlement? No? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, in that case then we'll go to the vote on that one. Has anyone had it come up on their screens yet? No, okay. Oh, here it comes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see where we are with that. That's been approved. Thank you. That's unanimous. And thank you for your time today. Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the cost of living report. And if I can move to hand over to Councillor Stenner, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. The report before us this morning provides Cabinet with details of the Welsh Government Cost of Living Support Scheme and to present proposals for consideration in respect of the discretionary element of the scheme. The package of support includes the main scheme, which provides £152 million to provide a £150 cost of living payment to eligible households and £25 million to provide discretionary support for other purposes related to the living costs. This report will ensure that there is a suite of measures in place to assist residents throughout the borough who are facing the cost of living crisis. The recommendations are shown as 3.1.1. The Cabinet note the details of the Welsh Government Cost of Living Support Scheme, and 3.1.2, the Cabinet consider and approve the proposals in the report in respect of the discretionary element of the scheme. The reasons for these recommendations are shown at 4.1 of the report. I move.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stenner. If I could go to Councillor George, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm more than happy to second the recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Mr. Tranter, can I bring you in?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just a point of information, really, for members. This report, at first glance, you would think that you are going to benefit from this, you as Cabinet members, and so therefore, do you need to declare an interest? But there is no need to declare an interest on this report on the basis that it affects the majority of the ratepayers within your individual wards and within the county borough as a whole. So just by way of information, Leader, just in case certain members or some members thought that they had to declare an interest, no need to do so in my view. Okay, thank you.
That's most helpful, Rob, in terms of explaining that, and I appreciate you coming in on that point. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Pritchard.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And just to support what the Cabinet member has said, the report is about a suite of measures to assist with the rising cost of living. I'll be introducing the next report now, in which I'll report on the rising cost in fuel. So it is a report to be welcomed to support those, a lot of the public who are struggling with the cost of living. So I also support the recommendations. Thank you, Leader.
Thanks ever so much, Councillor Pritchard. Absolutely, and I think it's you know, you just mentioned the next report that's following, which is a direct impact of the cost of living that we're all facing. If you remember last week, we brought the taxi report as well. Again, that relates to all the costs associated with any type of movement in terms of energy and fuel costs at the moment. So it's only right and proper that we look at a whole suite of measures, as Councillor Stenner has already highlighted. So thank you for that. Okay, I can't see any other hands up in relation to that, and I think we can see the recommendations as laid out by Councillor Stenner. So if there are no further questions of officers, etc., I think we're happy and content to go to the vote. Again, this is a whole suite of measures that we hope helps capture and help support the most vulnerable within our borough. Thank you, everyone. That's been supported and that's unanimous. Thank you everyone for that. If I can move to the next item on the agenda, and it's the home to school transport. I've got that wrong. I've got the title completely wrong. Home to school college contracts. That's what I was looking for. Thank you very much. If I can go to Councillor Pritchard, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval from Cabinet for additional funds to support the variations of the Council's home to school transport service contracts. The transport industry costs are currently increasing at a fast pace, with the price of fuel seeing the highest percentage increase in recent years. Cost of fuel has increased by approximately 25% since the beginning of the new academic year in September 2021. The Council's integrated transport unit is currently receiving representations from home to school transport operators for an increase in their contract rates due to the increasing costs they are having to bear. They generally operate at the margins of profitability, and slight changes to circumstances can put service provision at risk. All other local authorities are also looking to apply increases, as they are being lobbied by suppliers that the current costs to run their services are unsustainable. Global fuel issues are currently impacting on all public sector bodies within the UK, and there are currently discussions between Welsh Government and the Welsh Local Government Association on global supply chain issues and how they impact commodity areas such as home to school transport. In relation to Caerphilly contract, it is vital to ensure that we are able to maintain a robust supply chain and that we work with local operators to meet the challenges that the fuel crisis presents and to ensure continuation of service provision. I would add that despite the Chancellor's fuel duty cut, prices are again increasing at the pumps. So in real terms, this was only a temporary and small reprieve. Whilst the report considers the impact on home to school transport, fuel prices extend to many facets of life. And this is an issue for residents in Caerphilly Borough and across the country. To ensure there is no disruption to the service for the remainder of the academic year, agreement is being sought to vary the existing rates for home to school contracts to reflect the increased costs being experienced by the transport industry. This is the correct way to proceed in order to fulfil our obligations. So turning to the recommendations, in 3.1, Cabinet is asked to agree additional funds to support the necessary contract variations in relation to the home to school transport. And 3.2, Cabinet are asked to approve a one-off year virement of 172,000 from the RCCO budget in miscellaneous finance for 22-23. Can I move the recommendations, Leader?
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Pritchard. And if I can go to Councillor Cook, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm happy to second the recommendations of 3.1 and 3.2.
Thank you very much. And it absolutely highlights, doesn't it, the impact that the cost of fuel is now having on all these providers that have got contracts with us. So it's only right and proper that we buffer that for them, because the prices we've seen at the pump are extortionate in the extreme. And obviously, as you said, the 5 pence per litre hasn't helped a great deal, because they've skyrocketed since that as well. So I think it's the right and proper thing that we do here today. So thank you for introducing and seconding the report, colleagues. Okay, are there any further questions in relation to the report? I mean, the report sets out exactly what we need to do here and what we're hoping to achieve at 3.1 and 3.2. There's no comments on that. Okay, I think we're ready to go to the vote then. Thank you, everyone. That's unanimous. Thank you ever so much, everyone. Thank you for all that. Okay, if we can go to the next item on the agenda, item number 7, and that's a public interest test. And if I can bring in Mr. Tranter, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Before you consider the next report, my recommendation to you is that you exclude the press and public before you consider that report, on the basis that there is information contained within the report that should remain exempt and should not come into the public domain at this stage. So my recommendation is that you exempt the press and public, but it is a matter for you. My public interest test certificate is there before you. I'm quite happy to take any questions that any member has about that, but my recommendation will be to exclude the press and public, but that is a decision for you as a cabinet as a whole. Thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tranter. Thank you for that. Okay, I think we're content. I don't think we have any questions in relation to the exempt report, so we're happy to go to the vote on accepting that the press and public are exempt from that. Councillor George?
Oh, sorry, Leader, I was going to second recommendations.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we need to just take a show hands or rip on, or so, oh, this coming up. Thank you. Has everyone seen that? Sorry, did everyone see the voting button? Yep, that's accepted. Thank you. We'll do that. If we can stop the recording now, then